Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to Serious Privacy, powered by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Paul Breitbart, Ralph O'Brien, and Dr. Kay Royal.
Just as a quick update, this episode, Ralph and I had some severe technical difficulties. Let's be honest, it was on my side. So whereas this should have come in right before IAPP, it is a little delayed, but it's still a great episode.
Welcome. This is another week in privacy with myself and Her Majesty Kay Royal. My name is Ralph O'Brien, and we are missing Paul Breitbart this week.
We are now.
Yeah, Paul is out with pressing work matters, but I'll be out next week because of the Global Privacy Assembly. So it's a week in privacy with Kay and myself, and how we normally start is I say something like, my name is Ralph O'Brien.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy.
This is going to be fun, Ralph. I don't know that you and I have ever done a show just between the two of us. I'm looking forward to this.
No, I don't think we ever have.
All righty then. We're up to the unexpected question. What is your go-to coffee order?
Being English, I'm afraid I don't drink coffee, I drink tea, my dear.
You drink tea.
Like my toast done on one side.
Yeah. All right. What is your go-to tea order?
We have this expression in the military called NATO standard, which is milk and 2 sugars.
Oh, okay.
But I've been trying to cut down on the sugar recently, watch the old health and weight.
Just keep in mind that artificial sweetener stuff is worse for you. I recommend stevia, Truvia, which is a natural sweetener with no artificial sweeteners or chemicals or anything in it, although sometimes it's processed with it, or monk fruit.
I've switched to honey.
Honey, okay. I think honey still has calories in it, though, doesn't it?
It's still better than cane raw refined sugar, isn't it?
That's probably true, but my go-to lunch when I'm trying to be healthy is typically, or was typically, homemade whipped cream with the heavy whipping cream with some vanilla and some monk fruit in it. And then I mix in some blueberries and some almond slices. And unfortunately, I was told I needed to start avoiding dairy. So I don't know what my options are going to be. My go-to coffee order, which I'm also trying to cut down on, used to only be an airport luxury that I would stop and get Starbucks. And it's a caramel macchiato, hot and light. So non-fat everything, even light on the caramel crap they put on the top, but always hot, even in the middle of summer.
I will occasionally treat myself to a chai latte. How's that?
See, there you go. Occasionally. I do have to warn people at GPS, do not invite me to coffee at all hours of the day. Last year, I think I met a couple of people for coffee, and then I picked up the soft drinks and the breakfast and the breaks, and then I had this for that and the other, because you're at a conference and you need that invigoration there. And my heart went bonkers and I almost had to go to the ER. So Kay has to behave.
Before we go to our week in privacy, it might be actually worth talking about GPS. I, of course, won't be there. It'll just be you and Paul. But, Kay, perhaps it might be worth talking about GPS because, of course, we'll probably be releasing this episode while you're there.
Absolutely. Or right before we're there. It's on Wednesday and Thursday. So, yeah, to be released while we're there. As Ralph said, Paul and I will be there. Paul's arriving this weekend. So if you're in D.C. area and you're around, feel free to reach out to Paul on LinkedIn, give him a holler. Because since he comes over from so far, he takes a few extra days. Whereas I'll be flying up on Tuesday and flying back on Thursday. But we do have the TrustArc event to go to, which I think is Wednesday night. I'd have to check that. There's an RSVP as well. If you need that and don't have it, hit us up on LinkedIn and we can make sure to send you that. And then I think we're also both going to the LGBTQ after party. I am trying to finalize my outfit. Paul is actually planning on wearing a velvet blazer and entering his first semi-cosplay kind of thing. I've got to figure out if mine's going to work or not. I haven't made it yet, and I'm pretty close to where it needs to be.
We'll corrupt him yet. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we will.
We're trying. So we'll have that, but we'll also do some recording sessions while we're there. Not only some snippets, bits and pieces, catching people at lunchtime or breaks to do it. We'll actually sit down with some people and do some recording. We've got one that I haven't told Paul about yet, which is on Native American privacy and Indigenous peoples' privacy. We met the lady last year at Global Privacy Assembly, if you remember. And now we're going to try, her panel is presenting there. And so she and I have been in touch. We're going to try to get a whole session done with them either before or after their panel. We'll catch some others there and do some recording. So we ought to have some pretty good content coming out of IAPP. We'll also have stickers, some pretty cool stickers too. So I've already told you we're doing the Good to the Last mic drop, and we'll have the logo sticker, which just says, I love Serious Privacy with Paul and Kay and Ralph. I went very simple there. It used to be Paul rocks and Kay rolls her eyes, but Ralph bangs or Ralph's was not an option. But yeah, where Ralph does the Ralph thing. So we just have a little bit of twist on that, but we also have one for Wicked. And we have one, I'm going to give it away. Y'all see if y'all are paying attention, on Privacy Avengers.
Where Ralph rules.
Ralph rocks, rules, and rows the boat on that one. Trust me, I could just do the sticker with him and it would be a raging success. So we do have that. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I know I've mentioned it on the show before, but my privacy textbook came out with Wayne Unger. He's a professor at Quinnipiac Law School in Connecticut, I believe. And so he and I, with some consultation work from Michelle Dennedy, have published through West Academic a data privacy and security law casebook. And so we're very thrilled that's out. I know people on LinkedIn are saying, where can I get it? The link that I originally posted should now work. It didn't work before they published it. Now it should work. You should be able to get a digital copy or you should be able to order a copy, but I will try to get some more details on that.
And we've also learned that it's available through Amazon.
We know it's out of date as soon as they published it because we had to finish writing it 5 months ago. And so it definitely needs the update, but they knew that going into this when they approached us about doing the book. So we were now strategizing on what's the supplement schedule versus the second edition schedule. So we'll be working on that as well. But the thing is, the cases are what the cases are.
Yep.
The impact or the import of those cases may change for future activities, but the cases are what they are. So that at least is good. We did write it from very much a practical case-based, what do you actually do in the real world? What does this law mean for you? So it's really good, people. I just have to say it's just really good. Not just because I'm the author, but it's really good. The other thing that I have been asked about is when am I going to update the GDPR guidebook that I wrote about GDPR in the USA? So I'll actually start looking at that again too. I did not realize so many people were big fans of it. If you're GDPR compliant in other countries or you're coming from Europe, what do you have to do for American privacy law? And now with all the state laws, there's a lot more information to add to that. God, I did that 2 years ago, if that. So I'll go back and look at updating that as well. But otherwise, let us know what you're thinking, what you have, what updates you want, and let's dive into what's going on in the world of privacy. We're going to keep this episode pretty short. We know the cookies one was 40 minutes. So this one's going to be a little shorter. Again, because we're going to have so much content next week, but we do have some things in privacy to update you on.
We do.
Ralph, there was some really cool.
Yes, there was.
One, so you should start.
Okay. From my side of the Atlantic, one from the European Data Protection Board. During the plenary on the 14th of April, we've got some new guidelines coming out from them on processing personal data through blockchain and a readiness signal, if you like, about its readiness to cooperate with the EU AI office on guidelines for the AI Act and data protection law. So the blockchain is the new piece of guideline there, whether that's essentially, for those people that don't know the technology of blockchain, the old distributed digital ledger system, trying to make sure that everybody has a copy of that ledger. Therefore, you can establish that ledger's integrity across a network. So integrity and traceability is good. Blockchain technology is expanding. But of course, that does increase the possibility of distributing personal data across everybody's systems as well. The main guidance is basically to do a DPAA. That's really what I've picked up from the guidelines, where the processing is likely to result in a high risk to the rights and freedoms of individuals. Organizations should carry out a DPAA. No real rocket science there. But then there's also a couple of bits and pieces in there about data minimization, generally trying to avoid storing personal data on the blockchain if it conflicts with data protection, which again, not really anything radical there, of course. Guidelines subject to public consultation, so please take a look. The deadline to look at that is the 9th of June, so plenty of opportunity to comment on the EDPB guidance on the use of blockchain. And then one further from me, which is from a bit more local in the UK here, which is another GDPR penalty from the ICO, which you may know that I campaign are too few and far between. However, this is yet another security one. We've yet to see any penalties from the ICO about anything like transparency or purpose limitation or retention or accuracy, what I'd consider to be ground level data protection. But they seem to be quite keen now on financial penalties around cybersecurity. So this is a Merseyside-based Liverpool law firm, DPP Law Limited, and the penalty there is 60,000. That's in pounds, because some cyber attack led to sensitive and confidential personal data being published and being out there for available on what they're calling the dark web, basically due to a lack of multi-factor authentication, which again, we've seen before. These are not new problems. Lack of multi-factor authentication, cyber attacks, which led to large volume of data, crime, military fraud, sexual offences, actions against the police. And their director of enforcement, actually in the enforcement notice, goes as far as saying it's 32 gigabytes of data. They had to be contacted by the National Cybercrime Agency to tell them that they'd found this data on the dark web, so they weren't even aware of it. And they'd also failed to report the incident after they became aware of it. So not only is it a security breach penalty, it's also a lack of notification of a breach penalty as well. They actually reckoned that the fine itself would be about 23,000, but they've actually upped the fine to 60,000 to make it dissuasive, which actually I quite like. There's this idea of upping the fine to make it dissuasive to a small to medium law firm of its size. 60,000, you might say, isn't very much compared to the 1.2 billion we've seen for Facebook. But again, you've got to have the right level of penalty for the right size of organization. And I think 60,000 seems to be dissuasive in this case. So yeah, enforcement from the ICO and EDPB guidance. And that about wraps things up on my side, at which point I should hand back over to Kay.
Thank you, Ralph. Really appreciated your side of the pond there. So over here, let's talk a little bit about what's happened this past week or so. In Massachusetts, there was a $2.8 million settlement for the Aeretis Health. I'm not pronouncing it right, I'm sure. They had a 2023 data breach that affected like 2 million people. It stemmed from a vulnerability in their data transfer solution. So settlement on that one. We also have, as you mentioned, in Europe, the AI leadership are getting together for an AI continent action plan. So we'll look forward for what's going to come out for that. I think France, I totally know this is not completely on my side of the pond, just some that I have teed up. So France launched a public consultation on session replay tools. That's one of the biggest things that we have. And then most recently, what we've had is Meta is facing a COMPA Meta is facing a COPPA complaint over Horizon Worlds and child data. So the privacy advocacy group Fairplay filed a complaint with the FTC alleging that Meta knowingly allowed kids under 13 to access Horizon Worlds, which meant they were collecting their data without parental consent. So it was supported by a former Meta executive, maybe a little bit of whistleblowing there, and claims Meta prioritized growth over safety, exposing minors to potential harm. All of these, I tend to get my updates both from TrustArc and from IAPP, so should love those. There is a 51 state attorneys general litigation task force back with the warning. So they notified 9 telecom companies that they may be violating federal and state laws by allowing unlawful robocalls to continue across their networks. So what they're saying, compliance isn't optional. You need to make sure that you take care of this. Austria also banned a parking company's video surveillance, banned it nationwide, immediately and enforceable. There are some states that are out there with some privacy laws moving. I love to see the different laws moving in the different states, but it looks like there's probably 8 or 10 more that are still on the active list. But let's get into a little bit of detail about these state laws. And just so people know, I love to use the IAPP resources. It's their state privacy law chart. They do include in there, their approach is to look at the omnibus laws. They don't look in the state privacy law tracker. They don't look at specific laws for children or for internet or for videos or for biometrics. They're tracking the omnibus laws for this chart. Now, what we have right now is about 2 handfuls of states: Alabama, Arkansas, Illinois, Maine is just starting, Massachusetts, New York, North Carolina, Oklahoma, which has progressed, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Vermont, which is ahead a little bit, and Wisconsin. I believe Hawaii also has an active law in here. It may have gone inactive already, not sure. I'd have to follow up on Hawaii a little bit as well. Might be in committee. We also have the ones marked inactive are Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, although I did think it was still active, New Mexico, Washington, and West Virginia. So if we look across these states that are still active, not the ones that are inactive, and I usually like to remind people that not all U.S. states are on an every year legislative schedule. Some states are on a 2-year, so even though the law might not be passed in 1 year, it might still be passed the next year. It's a 2-year schedule. So it's not dead just because 1 year session ends. Now, with that, not all the ones who do every other year have the same length of sessions. Some states have longer sessions than others. Some are all year. Some only have 1 session every other year. And almost all of them have the ability to do emergency sessions. So some of them, they're done at summertime. And some of them last through the year. And yes, you can still have bills proposed later in the year. So this is why you might see some differences in whether or not a bill is dead, or it's just continued, or it's introduced late and, hey, where did that one come from? Kind of thing. It's just because they run different legislation sessions. Okay, let's look at the ones that are active. So we all absolutely have, let me get my details up here so I can talk to y'all a little bit. A lot of them do have opt-in as a default based on a particular age. Most of these ages seem to be 16, 17. There's one that's 18, which I think is Massachusetts. And so there are some differences there. Almost all of them contain all of the rights. Now, it looks like Illinois, they have both their Privacy Rights Act as well as the Illinois Data Privacy and Protection Act. So you have to watch both of them. They're a little bit different in there. One of them, the Data Privacy and Protection Act, does not include all of the rights you might be thinking of. Like they don't have the right to opt out of certain processing or certain data sharing, but pretty much all of them have the regular rights that you're looking at. The differences in some of them are whether or not they require risk assessments. Pretty much all of them do, but there are some that don't. So watch that. But you know that a risk assessment is the standard part of your privacy program anyway. Pretty much all of them include a prohibition on discriminating against someone because they exercise their privacy rights. But New York doesn't. Now, New York's got 3 in movement here: the New York Data Protection Act, the New York Privacy Act, and the American Data Privacy and Protection Act. That's an interesting one. That one doesn't include a lot of the things that we're looking for across the board. So the things that have become standard, y'all know, are the rights, the risk assessments, definitions of sensitive data. We can dive into these, as we tend to do, at the end of the year when we see which ones have passed for the year, and try to bring you a whole session on, okay, now let's go understand the new U.S. state privacy laws as they're doing. And we expect that a lot of these will probably fall off the way they typically do. That's a little bit more about state laws. And yeah, there are a lot of things moving and grooving around the world. We did not bring you everything. We are still watching some things that we've talked about before on the show. The law case in Africa that we're watching because he was challenging the scope of theirs. Not even a thing yet to really be able to give you any results for. So with that, I think we can close up our week in privacy. Hope y'all enjoyed the session, and we'll see you next time.
That was Serious Privacy.
This wraps up our podcast for this week. Please do share the episode with your friends and colleagues because we love to get more listeners. And join the conversation on LinkedIn or on Blue Sky. You'll find us under Serious Privacy on both platforms. You'll find Kay as Heart of Privacy, Ralph as IGR O'Brien, and myself as Europol B. Until next week, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on Nimity research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.